Did you know, and I didn't until I started to research the Soviet Union, that there was a time where it was illegal to report crime? I was reading a fictional novel. It's actually a series about the time under Stalin, and I read that it was illegal to report crime. Oh, this can't be true, and it was. You see, communism had done away with crime and had done away with mental illness. So if you reported crime and mental illness, you were the criminal because you were committing a conspiracy against the state. Washington, D.C. has been a place with too much crime for a very, very long time. And if you've ever lived there, as I have, there were entire neighborhoods of Washington, D.C. where it was well known you did not go unless you wanted to be carjacked or assaulted or robbed. And it didn't happen every time, but it was a numbers game. It was eventually going to happen. Guy I worked with in D.C., a guy named Dwayne, he was a security guard there. And man, he was well treated. Put 3 kids through college as a security guard at the RNC. He once saw me jogging through his neighborhood and made me stop and come inside and told me, man, you're crazy, crazy white man. What are you doing? So when you're watching Washington, D.C., and you see the propagandists gather to defend it, they give themselves away in the funniest possible methods. Matthew Foldy caught this. Ladies and gentlemen, the Washington Post is letting D.C. liberals unanimously rant about how supposedly safe D.C. is, while letting them speak on the condition of anonymity over concerns of personal safety. Yes, this is real. Washington Post. Democracy dies in darkness. Quote, this is a safe city. But overhearing and witnessing gang threats and then watching the camera footage of thuggery is disturbing. Said one resident speaking on the condition of anonymity over concerns of personal safety. The crowd of teens, he said, were roaming the street and appeared to be checking for unlocked cars and things to steal. President Trump is invoking his privilege as president to run the federal city, which was established as a federal city under control of the federal government, and he's doing this for a number of reasons, most of which has had to do with the fact that it is impossible to ignore a series of staffers being harmed, sometimes unalived, beaten for trying to stop others from being harmed, carjacked or possibly unalived. And the response to this is so instructive as to what this city is doing. Was it illegal to report crime in D.C.? Well, some crimes. You can't go around reporting Nancy Pelosi for insider trading, and that's just not done. But what about some of the street crimes? We'll look at this because it matters, because this is emblematic of the United States of America, and you want to be able to ask questions, because if you're not allowed to ask questions, heads up, you're not living in a free country. I'm going to give you an opportunity to ask questions about Renew.Healthcare and how they do their stem cells. We created a cool webinar. This is free. This is coming up Thursday, the 11th at 11 a.m. Pacific Standard Time. I'm going to be there. Every attendee is going to be entered for a free 1-week stay at the beautiful Mio Hotel in Nueva Vallarta. And this is 3 blocks from the ocean. I've stayed there twice. I took my daughter and she stayed there. It is safe. It is beautiful. The meals are extraordinary and access to the beach is really easy. So we're going to talk about how the stem cells are derived, how stem cells work in the body, how long it takes for stem cells to work, stem cell therapy versus surgery, what areas of the body can stem cell therapy help me, and hear from Dr. Navarro, a spinal specialist on regenerative therapy. There is going to be an opportunity for you to ask questions. If you have specific questions about stem cells and how they might work for you, go to joinstemcelltalks.com. That's joinstemcelltalks.com or call 602-428-4000. And you can ask your questions. You can attend. It's for free. And of course, you're entered to have this incredible free stay at the Mio Hotel. A patient testimony from Jill, lumbar cervical spine repair. I was told by my surgeon that after surgery, I'd never be able to touch my toes again. That was devastating to hear. But then I discovered Renew Healthcare and a regenerative stem cell therapy program, and everything changed. Thanks to the incredible team at Renew, I avoided invasive surgery and began a healing journey that restored my mobility and dramatically reduced my pain. Today, not only can I touch my toes, but I'm living a more active life, swinging my golf clubs pain-free and living a life I never thought possible. I'm beyond grateful for the care, expertise, and results I received through stem cell therapy. It's joinstemcelltalks.com. Joinstemcelltalks.com, and I will see you there. Washington, D.C. is not the Soviet Union, but it has characteristics like it, like an officer, a senior officer, faking crime statistics. We'll talk about that in a second. President Trump's orders are going to result in law and order being brought back to Washington, D.C. as it's becoming effectively federalized, at least at the police level.
President Trump, it's not a secret how he feels about violence in the city, and it's resulted in this. We are outside of Union Station this morning because the White House says you can now expect to see more police presence in touristy areas of D.C. In fact, there were several things announced by the White House yesterday. Check it out. For the next 7 days, and potentially longer than that, you can expect to see federal officers in marked units patrolling what the Trump administration is calling high-traffic tourist areas and other hotspots. We are not sure exactly what those hotspots are. The increase in law enforcement presence is supposed to start each night at midnight.
I could tell you some of the hotspots. People who live in D.C. can tell you some of the hotspots. The police chief or D.C. police commander could have probably told you. This is from Fox News, so take it with a grain of salt because what? Oh, no, I'm sorry. This is from an NBC affiliate for Washington, D.C. D.C. police commander suspended, accused of changing crime statistics. Police union says directives to change offense clarifications come from a command staff. Paul Wagner, News 4 reporter, published July 18, 2025. Updated July 18, 2025. If you've ever lived in any of the separate countries, like the separate country of Seattle or the separate country of Portland or Los Angeles, San Francisco, you're familiar with this dance and this swindle. When you allow people to vandalize buildings, vandalism goes away. The reported vandalism crimes go down. When you stop prosecuting people for possessing fentanyl possession goes down, statistically speaking. When you stop prosecuting simple offenses like, I don't know, things like assault, because in the separate country of Seattle, you as a defendant on assault, if you are on video assaulting a person, you can go into court and you can say, I'm depressed and have a drug habit, and those charges can be dropped. Their so-called Supreme Court in Washington State has just allowed a rule, a judicial rule. This isn't even open to a legislative fix, that a judge can take into account how the community might feel about a sentence, if it might make them feel angry or untrusting of the criminal justice system if someone is convicted of a crime. Even if they obviously did it, the judge can say, because of the feelings of community, we're not going to go through with the conviction. So anyone who's lived in these separate countries has seen the effects of this. Washington, D.C., and the staffers know this there. Notice this. The Capitol has armed guards. You go through a metal detector to get into those buildings. You do that at the Senate. You do that at some of the libraries. They know how dangerous D.C. is. Then there's this. Outside of Washington, D.C., I was just reading about school board members who petitioned to have 3 or 4 personal guards walk them around the city. These are people who sit on school boards in Virginia because they don't want people to come up to question them about their votes, about how they're running the schools. So as President Trump goes in and takes over the police, what's he actually taking over? Is he going and crashing into people's homes and violating the Fourth Amendment? Is he making it illegal to be black and brown? No, he's not. The people most affected by crime in Washington, D.C. happen to be black and brown, which is such a terrible way to identify human beings. Why don't we just call them human beings? What he's actually doing is saying to his police force, you will enforce the law. If someone is caught carjacking, it will be recorded as a carjacking. If they're repeat offenders, it will be noted they're repeat offenders. And here's what's going to happen. The criminals will stop. They will choose other areas to go. They're not all stupid people. Some are. But many of them are running businesses. Carjacking can be big business, particularly when you are never prosecuted for it and your employees and partners are never prosecuted for it. Do I love seeing this? No. Martial law? We're not there yet. This is a federalizing of a federal city. Here's what I do love. President Trump is giving warning to Los Angeles and Seattle and San Francisco. Now, they're not federal cities. He does not have a constitutional prerogative to go do this, but he's giving them a warning. When he and his police force stop crime in D.C., it's going to have the same effect as when President Trump stopped illegal immigration at our border. It's going to remind people that it can be done. Oh, and one last word, not that it matters, except it matters. God is a God of law and order, not chaos. It's the other side that's the side of chaos.